Hello and welcome back to the Vessel and Voice podcast. I'm your host, Kim Charlson. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking all about 2026, setting your intentions for the new year, what the energy of the next year may bring, and some steps that you can take to really set the tone of what this next year will be for you. Before we get into today's episode, I first want to say how excited and happy I am to be here with you today. If you are a consistent listener of this podcast, you may have noticed that we took a brief hiatus. That was not planned, unfortunately. I have typically quite a few episodes that I've recorded and try to record in batches that I usually do 4 to 5 at once. So I've got at least a month's worth of content planned out in advance. However, in the last batch that I recorded, I started having some health issues and they started to get worse and worse and worse, and got to the point where I finally decided, you know what, I'm going to go have some testing done to figure out what's going on. And as part of that testing, during the second blood draw that I had done, I lost consciousness. And I really have no idea what happened, to be honest. It's something that does happen pretty routinely. So if you've had this happen to you before, it's something our nervous systems just do, that apparently they can get so overwhelmed doing a regular routine blood draw, they just tap out. So that's what happened. And I ended up going to the emergency room and got checked out. Everything was fine. But for about a week and a half afterwards, my nervous system was so dysregulated that I couldn't look at screens, at computers, at a phone, at a TV. I couldn't read books. It was really a forced rest period, if you will. And during that time, I was completely unable to channel as well, that I felt my energy was just all over the place. It was very difficult to get centered and grounded. So I knew that although, hey, maybe I could get in front of a camera, it was not the time for me to record things for you all for the podcast or for any other channeling work. So I'm really excited to be here with you. I am feeling so much better. For those of you that did send messages or emails to me to check in on me, I really appreciate that and how much you support our work. It means the world to both of us, to Monty and I. So, as we get into today's episode about the energy of 2026, Monty's going to share with us what it is that we need to really take away from this year. But before we hear from Monty, I wanted first to briefly talk about some of the things that we touched on in a previous episode, is that we're headed into a year 1. We've been in a year 9, which is a lot of the closing out of energy, the leaving behind things that we don't want to take with us. So if you're listening to this before January 1st, it may be a good idea just to take a pause, allow yourself for a moment just to reflect on, what are the things I don't really want to bring into this year? For me, that is having a lot of just annoying health problems. Nothing that was really troubling, but I am so ready to leave that in the past this year, of really allowing my health to come into an energy of being in flow and being very supportive to my nervous system, and allowing me to be able to really enjoy my life to a greater capacity. I am very excited for year 1 and what that could bring for me. But maybe a great idea for you to think, what are the things that energetically I want to leave behind? And if you are someone that is into doing different rituals, you can do a cord cutting ritual. I will be doing this before the end of the year on New Year's Eve, right before I get into just the regular New Year's Eve celebrations of doing a cord cutting. So I'm going to explain this process a little bit. Now, this is something that would qualify as witchcraft. So if it's something you don't feel comfortable with, that's fine. This is just a really fun process that I like to use. I do a cord cutting once a month to really help clear out my energy. And it's something that you can add to your rituals and practices if you like to enjoy doing it as well. So to set it up, you choose 2 candles. They can be different colors to represent different things. You can use whatever calls to you. You can use 2 white candles. I tend to use a blue candle to represent myself and my oracle nature of feeling connected to my third eye, to my intuition, and then a black candle that represents the all of everything else that I don't want to take with me. So for me, instead of using a cord cutting for one particular energy, I really set the intention that that black candle is going to represent all of the different energies that I want to leave behind. Typically, you want to use what's called a chime candle. They're pretty small. They usually have no more than a 2-hour burn time. Otherwise, you're going to be there for a really long time. Then you want to use a fireproof vessel of some kind. It could be a cauldron, or it could be just even a pie plate or another fireproof dish. And the key to this is you want to do this outside. There are more experienced witches, certainly, that will do these rituals inside, but I urge you, please protect your safety. Do this outside, because when we do these sorts of rituals, fire is involved, things can go wrong, and we want to make sure that we're doing it in a safe manner. So what you'll do is allow your 2 candles to be positioned near each other, but far enough away that they're at least a couple of inches. I like to just put mine down in some salt inside of my cauldron, but if you're using something like a pie plate, you can light a candle a little bit and drip some of the wax down before you seat that into the pie plate, and then maybe surround it with a circle of salt for some protection and keeping the energy contained within that space. Then you want to take some twine that will burn. So double check that your twine of whatever you're using will actually burn. If you're using acrylic yarn, for example, it will not burn, it'll just melt and also let off some really noxious fumes. So you want to make sure that whatever you're using is usually a cotton fiber or another natural fiber that you're using. And then you want to encircle the 2 candles with this twine, connecting these together. And this represents the energy of you being involved with this other thing, of the negative aspects of the relationship to whatever it is that you're doing this cord cutting with. As you're creating this connection between these 2 candles, allow it to really begin to take that intention of, this is the energy that I feel connected to this thing and I want to do the cord cutting with. And then from there, what you want to do is just make sure that that twine is tied off in some fashion so it's going to stay connected to the 2 candles. And then set the intention that you're going to cut these energetic cords. Now, there are 2 ways to do a cord cutting from here after you've set it up. The more traditional way, which I personally don't do, but want to make sure that you know about it, is using an athame, that is a ceremonial knife that you coat with some sort of flammable liquid, such as Florida water. Light that on fire, and then use the flaming knife to cut the cords and allow it to light the cords on fire as you're cutting through it, and to ceremonially cut the cords. And then continue to allow the candles to burn completely. What I have a tendency to do instead is just light each individual candle and then just let them burn together down at the same time. And as the candle melts down and the flame begins to make contact with the twine, it will light that twine on fire. And for me, I use that as a reading and interpret how I am in relationship to the energy, what's changing, what's moving, what needs some more effort, and just watch what happens with that twine as it starts to burn and the effect it has on either one of those 2 candles. Sometimes it can be as evidence for me to know, oh, I'm really allowing myself to be affected by this connection to the things I want to disconnect from, because the twine is really burning down my candle more than the candle that represents the thing that I'm connected to. Or maybe the twine slips off over the top of the flame and then doesn't burn down the candle that represents me at all. I can see that it's evidence of, I've done a better job that month of really making sure I stay contained within my own energy. So I use that more as a mode of divination and reminder of the different ways that I can allow my energy to be more sovereign and independent, rather than doing the traditional cord cutting using an athame. And if you decide to give this a try, definitely check out some more resources about cord cuttings online. There's tons of them. It's a very common practice in baby witchcraft, and it's something that I practice once a month myself as well. So I'd invite you to give it a try at the end of the year, to leave behind everything in this year 9 that we just don't want to take with us. And as a last thing, before we hear from Monty on what 2026 will bring, I want to let you know what our plans are for this year. So in the end of 2025, what we started doing, both Monty and I together, was offering one-to-one channeling coaching for some individuals that were at the stage where they wanted to start to learn to voice channel. And that has been such a beautiful, wonderful, and just eye-opening experience for me as a teacher, and also for really understanding how others learn how to channel, the process, and just how unique it is to each and every one of us. And I will be returning towards group teaching this year, and we'll be announcing the dates of the first group coaching class that I'll be doing. So that way, if you want to start connecting with your spirit guides, you're not quite at the point yet where you're consistently connecting with them. It's going to be a 6-week long group coaching container of no more than 12 students. So that way, everyone gets individualized attention. And we'll be launching that here in the coming months, as well as we'll have it again at least in the fall. So keep your eyes watching for that. So that way, if you want to learn how to connect with your own spirit team, be able to get messages from them and get guidance on a consistent basis, please make sure that you sign up for our email list. And you can do that at the link below in the show notes, as well as get our free meditation to get started to connect with your spirit guides. Monty and I are really excited about returning to group coaching this year, and we're really looking forward to it. As well, we're also going to be launching a new workshop in the next coming weeks for you to help you really understand that what you are receiving when you're able to connect with your spirit guides is really them. And we're going to be creating this workshop in the coming weeks, so watch for that. We haven't decided on what the name of it is yet, but as long as you're signed up for the email list, you'll definitely receive the notification as well as some reminders about other upcoming events. If you're someone who already has dabbled in channeling, but you're looking for somewhere to practice, we're going to be starting channeling practice classes early this spring. So watch for that as well, where we'll meet once a month in the evening to do a directed channeling exercise with Monty's guidance to really allow us to deepen our channeling practice, to work on our channeling skills, and to really be able to get even more accurate, verified information as part of our channeling. Thank you so much for all of your support throughout 2025 of Monty and I's work together. It really means a lot. And without you, I honestly would not keep doing this podcast without your encouragement and knowing that you're out there listening to this and hearing your feedback. It means so much. It really allows us to see the impact of our work and to know that this is serving a purpose and that we should continue. So thank you so much. Now let's hear from Monty on what 2026 is going to bring, what we can do to set our intentions, and what we can anticipate for the next year. We are delighted to gather with you in this moment at the end and beginning of this year of the threshold of energy. Regardless of your perspective of time, humanity has decided in many ways this is a threshold of energy. And so therefore, it is a threshold of energy. That just by this intention of this threshold's existence, you are crossing the threshold whether or not you want to, because of human energetic constructs of time. This year of 2026 is going to be one of resetting. Over the previous years, you have been changing your identity. You have been identifying a different way of being that you wish to embody, and yet you have not yet fully found the way to embody it in your life. You have been feeling as though you have been stuck in many ways in the old version of your life, and the habits and routines and ways of being that were constructed by a previous identity, by a previous version of yourself. And you have done great amounts of inner work to shift that. And now we are at the threshold where the shift will begin to result in your physical reality, where it will become much easier for you to embody the identity of your new choosing, where it will be much easier for you to express that identity into the world externally. And with that comes a great amount of renewed self-acceptance. As you are learning how to express this new identity that you have developed over the previous years, you are coming into a new awareness of how you will be accepted into the world, of when you are expressing this new identity out into the world, it is time for you to see how others are reacting to it in a very new way. With this will come the falling away of certain systems and of certain support in individuals, and the finding of new systems and new support. It is the era of a shift.
of things moving and changing from one system to another, of the replacement of one externalized identity to another. And as part of this shift, there is the requirement for lots of self love. We would call this the year of self love if we had to choose a theme for humanity. If we had to say one focus for this year, it would be that working on your self acceptance is the path forward for 2026. As you are shifting this externalized identity to your new formation of who you are, it will require you to come to terms of self acceptance, of accepting yourself and standing by yourself regardless of external results, external circumstances, or what other individuals believe about you. It is knowing who you are, accepting who you are, loving who you are, and then allowing that to be expressed out into the world in its new form, and watching the world respond. Holding that center of this new identity of who you are without regard to what occurs externally. Holding that alignment and that reason for being. That is the key for this year, is allowing that self-acceptance so that way you can maintain that center of energy. Because without this maintenance of this self-acceptance, you will revert the progress that you have made back into that old external identity, back into those old systems, and you will repeat this loop over again, over a greater time period than is warranted. So we offer this as our advice for you. Allow yourself in every moment when you feel alone, when you feel isolated by your new choices of who you are being. Give yourself the love that you deserve. Do not look for it from external sources, but allow yourself instead to feel the love internally, to feel the self-acceptance. The greater that you can emphasize this, the more that you will be able to stick with that centered self, to be able to express that centered self, to create new works, new results, new relationships, new systems of support in the world. But always give yourself the time and space that you need. This is a year of self-tending as you are building something new. As always, we are here and your spirit team is here to help support you. Ask for their guidance. Ask for their love. Ask for ways that you can continue to improve on your self-acceptance. We send you great love in this endeavor. That is all.
I'd like to give Monty a lot of gratitude for this message about what 2026 is going to bring. No matter how you're deciding to view this, whether it's one from opportunity and hope or one with a little bit of trepidation and fear, know that you get to set what happens in 2026 through your intention and your own energy. It's all about how you decide to react, how you decide to be as a product of what is occurring around you. Just because events of 2026 may happen a certain way doesn't mean that you can't change the way that you behave as a result of those events, the way that you allow your energy to move through the world. I'm looking forward to this next year. I really feel like 2026 is going to be a really big year for so many of us, starting new things and new projects. I'm really excited to see what new energies is going to bring into my life and look forward to seeing what it does for all of us. Thank you so much for being a listener in 2025 to the Vessel and Voice podcast. It is with the deepest gratitude that I thank you for listening to this podcast, not only because I really appreciate your support of our work, but also because as a listener of this podcast, know that you are doing the work to change the energy of the world. And what you do by listening to this podcast is having an impact. It's changing the energy and is changing the world. So I appreciate you for participating and showing up to that spiritual work. I look forward to seeing you in 2026. We'll see you in the next episode.